Okay, we're going to talk about our opinions on opening schools in the U.S. during, coronavirus for this fall school season. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, you know, the cases are rising, right? And despite, masks sort of being mandatory, they're not entirely mandatory, right?
Right.
People aren't being forced to wear them. And even with the part of the population that is, it's not taking down the cases any. And so just imagine how many kids aren't going to wear them at school if they go back, right?
Right.
See, the
It,
problem is that the like online school is bad because last time we did it, it ended terribly. It's only because they, like rushed everyone out of school during, when the pandemic really picked up speed, right? But they've had this entire summer to plan out online schooling, and some are going online, but not the entire school. Now, if you send people back and then have to send them all home really quickly, you're going to have that same problem of not being entirely prepared, and they're going to be like, oh, it's online school being bad again.
I I don't think they're fully prepared for online school. Um, I know some places are just because they use tablets and they use portals and stuff like that. Uh, so it's it's hard to base a whole curriculum online. Um, but I think sending them back to actual school. I know some places were talking about doing a hybrid schedule, like 2 days in school and three at home, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case is, however they break it up. But I just think that sending them back isn't the best idea because uh, kids in general are inherently dirty. Um,
Yeah.
they don't they don't wash their hands all the time. They're not being um, they're not as focused on maintaining a social distance or maintaining cleanliness as we are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So kids that are back in school, then you're telling them they have to wear a mask and all these things, and these kids aren't going to be worried about that stuff. They're not going to be focused on that stuff. That's not that's not what they're going to be there for. And have you seen the pictures of the classrooms that have like bubbles around the desk?
Yeah. It's
Like,
just
what is
weird.
that? That yeah, like what is that? You're basically sitting at your desk and in front of you is a bubble like thing that you're wrapped it's not wrapped around you, but you can't touch to the left of you, to the right, or in front of you or above you. It's got a shield above you and all around you except behind you. So, I mean, it's not conducive to a productive learning environment because kids are going to be so distracted by it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that the school infrastructure the way it is now, it's not. We should have planned for something like this originally. Um,
Yeah.
it should have been something because say your kid gets hurt or something like that, and they can't go to school for 3 months or whatever the case is. There should have been online portals set up for this exact reason. And the fact that there isn't is kind of disturbing, you know. Not only that, but the fact that not to not talk about kids going back to school as far as high school and stuff like that, or middle school or elementary school, but the colleges. Did you see that they're not trying to give people money back for tuition when they're going to be all online?
Yeah. That's
I mean, that's
bad.
absurd. Like, if I'm paying to go to UNC or Harvard or Yale or Stanford or whatever college I'm paying to go to, I don't care if it's a local community college. Everything's online. You want full tuition, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to be staying on campus? Like, no, we're no, and they're not trying to give no money back, bro. That's crazy.
See, the other thing is that, they're like, no, it's fine if we send the kids back to school because kids are less susceptible to coronavirus, and even if they get it, they don't get it that bad. But the thing that they're not addressing is that all the teachers, or at least most of them, are in the sort of danger range for coronavirus. If anyone in that school gets it, it's gonna spread like wildfire, among teachers and possibly kids. And so then you have this problem where you have a lack of teachers now and can't have that many kids there. You have to send them home anyway. And
Right.
then the kids with corona go home, give it to their parents. Their parents can't work or can't take care of the kid at home because they're sick. The family gets it.
Right. See, I think a big part of it too is um parents are with when school got shut down in what, April or May.
April,
I
I
think
think,
that
right?
parents realize that, man, this is a harder job than I thought
Mm-hmm.
because, they're out of work and then the kids are out of school and the kids were doing online learning and stuff like that. But I think it was through like Google or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Google portal type thing. So, they realize like, wow, this is really hard because we don't know what we're doing and we don't know how to help them or whatever. And and then if I go back to work, how do I know they're doing their work when they're supposed to be? So it it's hard too because kids at that age, most kids want to go to school because they want to see their friends. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're doing online, so it's it's hard, man. It really is, But I really don't think that they should send them back to school because you're gonna have to disinfect everything. How are
Mm-hmm.
you gonna make if you're out of school, like my high school I went to, we had 1,500, 1,700 kids there, I guess. Two stories, three cafeterias, three gyms, two pools. Like, so how do you sanitize everything? Constant stairwells, railing, uh, cafeteria tables, desks. You're going to be sanitizing desks every time the kids leave the classroom. Who's going to
Mm-hmm.
do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy to think about doing this when you don't have proper procedures, guidelines in place. You can't even figure out how to do testing on time. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you got Betsy DeVos there, who's probably the worst director of education in the history of education. Like she's
Yeah.
pushing for kids to go back like crazy, which is just absurd, man. Because then you got people saying, "Oh, we don't want science to get in the way of kids going back to school." What? What are you talking about? It just makes no sense.
But also something got to think about is, it, the coronavirus started and it took them, a while to decide, hey, we're going to shut down schools, right? But within like the past, I don't know, like 3 months or whatever that they've, shut them down, we've reached like way over 4 million cases. Like, think about if everyone was quarantining during that time and there was like a stay at home order for some period of that time, and now you're going to actually open schools, the cases are going to skyrocket even more.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. Definitely. And you
Definitely.
don't. First off, you don't know how it's transmitted still right now, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
how long? You don't
Yeah.
know if it's transmitted through the air, if it's transmitted on surfaces. You don't know how long it lives on surfaces. You don't know if I'm asymptomatic, if I can transfer it. If I'm asymptomatic and not showing symptoms, all this stuff. And what are you going to do? Are you going to take this temperature of every kid that comes through the door and say, oh, hold up, hang on, stand right there, got to take your temperature, got to take your temperature? That's going to take you an hour just to get kids into the school. So
Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous. I really I don't think that they should go back to school, but at the same time, they have to do something because you can't just have a year where it's it's a dead year. You know what I mean? Eh,
There were some schools that had a plan to send kids back until Thanksgiving break, and then after that send them home because they would have been in contact with like way more people since then. And I
right.
think at like some point later in the year, they were like, okay, now come back when you haven't interacted with people or whatever.
Yeah. So what am I on quarantine to go back to school for 2 weeks? Ah, hang on, guys. I can't leave my house for 2 weeks. I can't leave my room for 2 weeks because I gotta go back to school. Like I just can't do it. So there's a slot in my door. Y'all can just slide my food through there. I can't interact with y'all. Like, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell, man? It's just the fact that they don't have something in place, because they've been so dead set on trying to reopen the schools and things like that, is very disturbing, man, and it's very scary because you should have been planning for this all along because there
Yeah.
was no guarantee from the beginning that anything would be back to normal come September, October, November. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So if you were talking about canceling sporting events and concerts and public gatherings and all these things that are just a one-time event with a couple thousand people, and now you're talking about sending kids to school 5 days a week into a condensed area, 5 days a week, you know?
Hmm.
You were planning this months and months out, canceling all this stuff and saying, oh, we're not going to have any fans at football games or any fans at any sporting events or no concerts and stuff that wasn't even supposed to take place until November was canceled. So why didn't you have a plan in place for the education system? Because you knew when you closed the schools in April or May that there was a chance come September when school was supposed to go back that there was going to be this issue. So why would you not be proactive on it and make these plans? All right, cool. You want to plan on opening the schools, that's fine, but you need to have a backup plan because now y'all scrambling like idiots because the
Hmm.
coronavirus, you talk about a second wave and it's going to get worse again. You got Florida looking like a dumpster fire. You got Houston looking like a plane going down in flames. You got California looking like an earthquake just hit their coronavirus numbers. You feel me? Like it's just
Hmm.
absurd. So why wouldn't you make these plans ahead of time? Understand?
See, there's like one of two ways this can really end. You either have the schools not sanitizing enough and everyone gets it, or you have it ended up like the um, immigration camps where they over sanitized everything and then everyone got sick. Like, I know the kids aren't there as much as the people are in those camps, but still, if you sanitize everything way too much, there's gonna be some sort of effect.
There, there is because it's like we talked about the other day. As far as you need them germs, like you need basic germs.
Yeah.
You know.
But you also can't
So
be constantly breathing in sanitizer.
exactly because chemicals are not good. They're really
Mm-hmm.
not. And people are you want to sanitize things and all this, but it's just like people that use the hand the alcohol on their hands all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So people who do that all the time, they have a lower immune system because they don't interact with certain germs. So, if you use hand sanitizer all the time, it lowers your immune system and you're more susceptible to catch these colds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to use it and I touch something I really don't want to touch, because, um, like I said, uh, my ex, she works in a daycare and it's just there, it's ridiculous. Like she gets around kids and it's just not good. So it's yeah, not a good situation.
And it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, it's really not. I just worry about the kids because they say, oh well, it was only older people and people with health problems and blah blah blah. But now, this 3-year-old kid gets it and they die. And then now 10-year-olds have it and teenagers are getting it and dying and all that stuff.
But you also
So
got that weird, I remember what it was, that other disease that really young kids were getting sort of alongside coronavirus. Do you remember that?
no. Oh, you talking about the respiratory thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. And they didn't know what it was. It was like shutting down their nervous system and everything.
Yeah, it was like very similar to some other disease that like existed sort of before, but it wasn't quite that. I don't know, but either way, the point is there's something that is terribly affecting the really young kids, the ones that are definitely not going to sanitize at schools, but are going to be forced to go back.
right. It, and then you're gonna have kids that are home and their parents don't believe in wearing masks or whatever
Hmm.
the case is, and they're gonna come to school and they're gonna be like, "Oh, my mom and dad said I don't have to wear a mask because it's my right and this and that, blah 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 blah." So how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Do you say, "Okay, well, guess what? Your mom and dad ain't here, so you ain't coming to school." Your mom and dad don't run the school. We do. So guess what? Pack your bags, hit the bus, and take your ass home.
See, the thing that baffles me is like, we're gonna end up, they're gonna send everyone home and then be like, oh, online learning is bad. But it's only going to be bad if everyone starts at home because they're threatening to cut 2/3 of the funding to any school that doesn't reopen. Like, how do you
That
expect them to have a productive school year if you're going to cut their funding?
right. That's bullshit. I think that the whole funding being cut and all of that is all political game. That's all Trump trying to say, oh, he's trying to bully the governors into opening schools because Trump can't do shit
Yeah,
as far as opening schools. Like that's a state level. He has no say over that. It has nothing to do with him. So he's trying to manipulate and push them into doing what he wants.
yeah. So
So
you can either have your kid go to school and potentially die, or stay at home and get a terrible education.
yeah, exactly. Eh, But see, it's not. They make it out to be horrible, but it's really not. I mean, if they do it right and they set it up right, I know a lot of them were doing it over Zoom, like class over Zoom and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I think I think they need more teachers to do it right because you can't have a Zoom meeting with 25 or 30 kids, however many kids are in a classroom, and one teacher. You
Hmm.
need to have at least, th- I'll say 2 to 3. I would rather have it a 10-to-1 ratio or a 15-to-1 ratio
Hmm.
than a 30-to-1. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because when you're teaching online, kids are going to get distracted easily
yeah.
because it, it's just what it is. It is what it is. So, you know, and they're going to need more one-on-one help because you're not able to do things in front of them to where they can see it. So,
Hmm.
have this setup where it's a 3-to-1 ratio or a 3-to-1 or 2-to-1, whatever the case is. So that way, if a kid does have issues or they're lagging behind or whatever, the one teacher can say, "All right, look, I'm gonna jump on with little Timmy over here real quick or Susie and help them out with this issue while you keep on with the lesson plan." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, and, and do they even have lesson plans set up for online learning? That's a big question too,
Hmm.
because online lesson plan is going to be way different than something that's going in the classroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And College Board, they really need to get their stuff together. Did you see how badly that went for AP testing?
No, I didn't.
Oh, so bad. Like they had to online format tests for, like people with um like the deaf people or whatever. And I don't know, it went really poorly, and some of the tests it straight up didn't work, but then they wouldn't refund people. And
What?
they would do them like retakes or something, and then the retake itself was really bad. I don't know. Something was really wrong with the way they set it up, and it did not work for a ton of people.
And they're not trying to refund anybody?
I don't know. I think they might have now, but it was definitely a problem at some point.
That's crazy. I hear about
I don't really remember much of it. It was a while ago.
if they see a lot of the kids are going to be upset, like seniors and stuff like that. That's going to be the big thing because I know a lot of the seniors this year were very upset that they didn't get to um, have their last couple weeks in school or their last 2 months or whatever the case is, you know,
Hmm.
and get that experience. So it it's hard. when it's hard when the president's putting your back up against the wall because he's saying, if you don't do this, then we're not going to give you money. Or, if you do this, then this will happen. Or, the threats and stuff like that. That shit ain't cool, man. Because you're putting people's lives at risk. It's not like look what happened with Herman Cain, the guy who signed the waiver to go to the rally in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He signed that waiver to go to that rally in Tulsa, catches COVID-19, and died. So you basically signed the guy's death certificate by making him sign that waiver to go to your rally because, you had to have this rally. Now you have to open the schools because you think it's going to help the economy to get people back to work. But at the same time, you're jeopardizing people's lives, man. 150,000 Americans have already died and you don't even care. You haven't
Mm-hmm.
come out and said nothing. You haven't said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, and I should have handled this differently, or this or that." No, the only thing you come out and say is, "Oh, the China virus. Oh, this and that." So, it's just have some compassion and just think about people instead of thinking about money all the time or thinking about uh re-election. I mean, granted, all right, you're not even a politician, but you're thinking about re-election. So it's just he's just I don't even want to get political about it or even get into it, but it's just a bad
Mm-hmm.
situation. It really is.
Do you have anything more to say about this?
Uh it's gonna be interesting to see exactly how they handle it
Yeah.
because are they gonna have plan implemented in time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because the last I heard, um, that some of the schools, like I said, some were talking about a hybrid schedule, but now they're saying no, we're probably not gonna do any uh in school activities until at the earliest uh 2 months into the school year or 3 months, maybe December. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle and to see how um the students cope with it honestly because this is unprecedented. This is really unprecedented and it's really going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
All you got?
Yep, that's about it.
Okay. And I think we'll go ahead and end this.
All right.
Okay.
All right, later.
Mm-hmm.